Sims Lifestyle Innovation.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today for our webinar about E-bot. We are going to cover some of the versatile connectivity, some of the features that separate one model from the next, and then specific benefits to students both in and out of the school. So Rick, without further ado, I will let you take over.
Hi, I'm Rick Sellers, and I'm the Texas sales rep, and I've worked in the field of visual impairment for 34 years. I was with the state rehab agency in Texas, and then since then I've worked in sales. So, as we said, what we'll cover today is the E-bot models. There's 3 different ones. Tips for using the E-bot to reduce the time spent accessing materials, making accessible materials. Ways to facilitate research in the libraries that aren't equipped for students. Opportunities to use the E-bot to be more independent and included in the class. How the E-bot OCR contributes to multi-sensory approach to learning. Ideas for encouraging better collaboration in group projects. Common Core, standardized testing, IEPs, and inclusion. So a lot of these are questions that I'm asked when I'm in Texas doing sales presentations. And I'm always asked about the 3 models of the E-bot, which are the E-bot Advanced, and E-bot Pro. I'm going to go over each model and as we go. First, we'll go over the E-bot features that are standard for all the models. This means it's on all 3 of the models, and why I'm really stressing this is I'm asked this every time after I've gone over. People just have questions and want more information. So first thing is the connectivity. The E-bot will connect to an iPad, an Android tablet, a PC, a Mac, or an HDMI display. The iPad, the Android tablet, and the Mac will connect wirelessly. And this is great for in a classroom setting because it gives the student the ability to be not locked to one location. And if they're familiar with the tablet gestures interface, that makes it so easy, and most of the students either have an iPad or an Android tablet, so they're really familiar with those gestures. They're not learning anything new. It takes no additional time. The HD quality is great. And the magnification, a student can read, they can write under it, and they can use it for distance viewing. And, you know, writing under one is really important for people, and this allows the focus lock. So the unit does not focus on their hand as it's moving, but stays focused on the reading material that they're filling in. There are magnification levels for a 9.7-inch tablet. It's 0.8x to 35x. A 17-inch laptop is 1.5x to 69x. And the 24-inch monitor is 2.2x to 97x. Also, on these units, you have the ability to change the color mode. And that's real important for students because many students need something other than natural. They need the high contrast of the black or the white, or they need a black background with white letters because of the glare. And sometimes in a classroom with so much lighting coming into the room, they really need that black background or a blue background. So this gives them the options of choosing some things, their choice. Also, they can use line or window markers with the unit. And that's really helpful if they have a hard time staying focused on one line at a time. It allows them to stay there. It's great for reading. The voice guide is really helpful in the beginning because it lets students know what they're doing and makes them become familiar with the unit. It can be turned off, or they can have plug in a headphone and just listen themselves with the earbud in one ear. So this makes it really, really convenient for the student. It gives them a lot of control and includes them in a classroom because people aren't noticing them behind some huge monitor or something. The headphone or speaker jack, and also there's a volume control. And you might ask, why would they need a speaker jack? Well, when they're using the OCR, it might be something that in a group they can just have read to everybody. The unit is battery operated, so that's great. The battery lasts about 4 hours. It's real easy. There's a carrying case that comes with the unit, and the carrying case can be used as a backpack or as a messenger bag. Also, it will let them hold the iPad or Android tablet and some laptops in it. So it makes carrying it really easy, especially if they have just going from class to class, because a lot of students don't have books to take from class to class anymore. So that makes it superb. And some schools even don't let backpacks because of security and stuff, but they usually can take this unit with special permission. Now we'll go over the features of the E-bot standard, or just the basic model. The controls are on the unit, so the student really needs to be sitting close to that unless they're using a tablet or an iPad. This unit has no OCR capability, which some people prefer because they want them to read and not use the voice. And it weighs about 5 pounds. When you go up to the next unit, which is the E-bot Advanced, it has a remote control plus the unit controls on the unit. It has screen image OCR, and screen image means if I'm at 10x, it's only going to see what's on the screen. If I take it down to the lowest level of magnification, it will allow the student to take that picture, which is about 2/3 of a 8.5 by 11 page, and then it will start reading it. And as they're reading that page, they can increase the magnification and they can change the color mode. So this makes it superb for getting more done. And that weighs about 5 pounds also. Now the E-bot Pro has so much more because the camera is motorized. So that means the student can operate it with a remote control that has a joystick on it, or through the iPad or the Android tablet by gestures on it. It has full page OCR because there are 2 cameras on this unit. So this allows a picture to be taken of a full page, and then it can be read to the student, and it can increase or decrease the magnification and the colors. And you might ask, why does someone need to have OCR with this as they're using magnification? Many students have been able to get through elementary, maybe middle school, and the reading is not a lot, not a tremendous amount of reading. In high school, the students tell me their reading increases and they do experience eye fatigue. And then when we speak about going to college, and the teachers, the VI teachers and myself tell them there's going to be a lot more reading. You're not even close to the amount of reading in high school you're doing, even if you're taking AP classes. So this allows them to see the benefits of reading, because many students are not using Bookshare or Learning Ally, because they're like, I can just read, I don't need anything like that. And for college, they're going to need to be able to make that transition to use both. And it's a difficult thing for a lot of people. So this allows them to make the move slowly and makes them comfortable and not being just thrown in all of a sudden, I have to use speech. With this unit also, you can do, besides the full page, you can make it do just the viewing page, a view of what it actually sees, screen image. On the E-bot Pro, it will also de-skew the OCR so it will position it correctly if they get it under there wrong. The thing that we find in text is that people really, really enjoy with the Pro is that they can save the OCR text and images to an SD card. This has proven extremely popular in science and math classes because the students, when they have this focused on the board, can take a screenshot of the board. Then they can refer to it later when they're doing homework or they're in tutoring, because if it was me, I would be in tutoring for math. It was not my strong area. So that makes it really comfortable for them, and then they can refer actually to the teacher's work, which is something a lot of times students are missing. This takes care of that. It's perfect. It is on an SD card. The SD card can be put in a computer too. So they have lots of options there. This one weighs about 6.8 pounds. We'll talk about the e-bot Wi-Fi connectivity. It is a dedicated Wi-Fi system that HIMSS has created. It does not rely on the external Wi-Fi in the school, in the library, at home. I could use this in my car traveling, and it would work. You could use, you don't need internet connection. And I've been taken to schools where the IT people are like, it's not going to work. They have to get on our Wi-Fi system. When I arrive and we show it, the IT people are like, wow, this is great. We have no problem with this. And this is because they've been stung different times by systems that have said that, and then they had to rely on the school system, and it's really sometimes difficult to get on because of security. This is not a Bluetooth connection. So if people ask you if it's Bluetooth, it's not. If it was Bluetooth, the image would not be good. So as we said, you can take this anywhere. You can do it in the classroom, home, outdoor areas, class trips, anywhere. And we all know that sometimes it's hard to sign on to Wi-Fi systems in different locations. That's why this dedicated Wi-Fi system that HIMSS has created solves this problem. It makes it so easy. I have yet to be refused. In the school that I was in Texas, they were like, we don't know if you're under where the signal is sent from, the booster, that you'll be able to do it. We went under it, it worked. We went all around that library, it worked. They were just ecstatic. They said, this really, really works well.
So Rick, one thing to add, I think we should specify too that the Wi-Fi that's built into the e-bot is used when you're connecting wirelessly to a tablet like an iPad. So if you're connected using a wire, you can just turn off the Wi-Fi on the e-bot. You don't need it. So I just wanted to specify that it's used for connecting the e-bot to a device wirelessly.
Yes. So it would be to the iPad, the Android tablet, or the Mac. If you're not using it, you can turn it off, and it solves the problem. But it works smoothly. The teacher prep intervention. All the time we're hearing getting accessible forms of textbooks can take weeks. With this, the student can start the day that class begins. The day they get their books, they can start looking at it. They're not behind the sighted students, which has always been a problem for visually impaired students in this country. It has always been an issue if the books are not already converted. They love it. The students like it because they can enlarge worksheets during the class. They don't have to wait for the VI teacher or an aide to enlarge their work that the teacher created the night before and walks in. And teachers do that. My wife was a teacher. It's part of teaching because you have to teach what students need at the time. And maybe your lesson plan said something else, but if the students didn't understand something, then you want to go over it another day. And maybe you've created another lesson has been created, a worksheet. That's what it's for. It allows them to see it immediately. There's no delay. They're part of the class. And then when they're in facilitating group projects is a problem, students need to be integrated in the classroom. This alleviates that problem. They don't have to be put with certain students because they have more patience or they'll work with them. They can sit down with their peers and be part of the activity. They can be sent anywhere in the school. Their team is not, or group is not locked to one location. This is exactly like in the classroom. When we had the old large video magnifiers, CCTVs, the students often were set up in a corner of the room because it was electricity, and also because they couldn't block the rest of the students. This lets them be part of the class. They have independence, freedom to participate in everything. If there's a whiteboard, blackboard, a lot of times that's been a problem for students to see. This eliminates it. Students can see at a distance, can enlarge it to the size they want. If they're using an iPad or an Android tablet, they can hold that tablet in a position for their vision. We all have seen the students that have had to sit at a monitor and either look up and their neck is just stretched up so they can see right, or they're looking down because of where their vision is. or having to turn their head because they have more peripheral. This eliminates that. They can put the tablet where their visual field is. It's comfort for them. What's great about accessibility, wherever, whenever, the E-bot collapses and folds up into like a messenger bag. You can take it anywhere. Easy to take on a plane, school bus, car, anywhere they go. They can use it at church. They can use it at home. They can use it at a job, the library, friend's house. They're not locked into having to have people come to their home because that's where their video magnifier is. They can go and be part of the group anywhere. They could work, a booth at a school event. They could be taking the tickets, doing the money, everything, checking people in. It's there. It's for them. They always have access to printed material. And the big thing my students here in Texas like, they can sit anywhere in the classroom. They are not the teacher's pet, connected to the teacher's desk or sitting in the corner isolated. They can go sit among their friends if they use the iPad or the tablet or the Mac computer, because they can sit anywhere they want. The freedom to be wherever they want with their friends, which is going to encourage social skills, because they're not isolated. Because there's lots of students that don't want to sit in that front row, and there's others that just love it. This gives these students the choice, the independence to do what they choose. Supporting a multi-sensory approach to learning, the magnification is for visual learning, real important for a lot of people, and the color combinations allow them to do that. Also the line markers or windowing. It helps them tremendously. It gives them that freedom. The OCR is great because they can have it read to them and they can follow the words as they're reading. This is wonderful for younger children that are learning to read. You can increase the speed too, because how fast the OCR is reading, you can decrease it. You can change it to a male voice or a female voice. You can change the pitch. It's wonderful. It allows a lot of freedom for a student. Students can write their own notes in class. They don't have to rely on another student's notes. Often, a lot of them do not have note-taking abilities because they haven't had to take their own notes in class. This allows this to be taught as a skill. Students to learn to write notes. Yes, it's a long process for all students in school, sighted and visually impaired, learning to take notes, but it's a valuable skill they're going to need all their life. And we really need to work on helping students develop that skill. When studies show that multi-sensory learning works, it embeds information in and activates different areas of the brain. It makes people that can use more than one way, visual or OCR, it's a smoother flow for them. People that have just one way learn to use it and learn to use it their best. But those are just the totally blind people, and a lot of those will use Braille for reinforcement. But most of us that are sighted use our vision and our auditory skills while we're learning. And this allows students to do that. There's nothing worse, and I've had many students say to me, than sitting in a classroom, the teacher's talking and stuff is on the board and they cannot see what's on the board. So either if they have a friend close by and the teacher allows it, someone's describing what's on the board, or they're left out. This eliminates being left out. This makes you part of the group, part of the class. You don't look or feel strange to your peers. Encouraging better collaboration in groups. I mean, how many times have visually impaired students been set to the side or set in a group and they don't do anything because they can't read what was being handed out, or they couldn't read the writing that someone had done? This allows them to actually participate in group work. They can do the reading, they can do the writing, they can fill out forms. It's wonderful. The student no longer has the reason to say, I can't do it because I can't see it. They have to participate. They can view their peers' work, which often is helpful. Sometimes it lets them see what they were doing wrong. You know, teachers, parents can sit and say something and it doesn't make sense, And sometimes when a student sees their peer's work, they'll say, oh, that's what they wanted. Or, oh, I understand it now. This allows it. They can see it. They can use the OCR to read it if it's typed material. I mean, it makes it so beneficial to the student. And teachers no longer have to hesitate for accommodation reasons. You know, because if this is in the classroom, the student can see the board, they can see handouts, they have access to the books. It makes it easier. They're not the fear of, oh, we didn't accommodate the student during this class. Oh, are we going to be sued? This makes it much smoother. The portability makes it easy to move across the room. I cannot tell you the students that I've just seen light up when they have the ability to move around in the classroom. When groups are assigned, you know, they get to move over to the group. The group doesn't have to move to them. Because often they've been stuck in the front of a room. This gives them that portability. It can be used, you know, in the library. It can be used in study halls. It can be used in any activity the student's involved in again. They can use it in clubs, you know, music, art. Students do really well with art with it because they can see the work they're doing. They lock the focus on the project, and then when their hand moves under, it's not refocusing on their hand. It allows them to do so much more than they've been able to before. And because of the portability, they can do it in an art class. They can shine it up and see what's in the front of the class that they're supposed to be drawing, and then move it back down if they need to as they're drawing. Some individuals, when they draw, are looking at what they're drawing and then just working, sketching. Not me. I'm not an artist by far. And then they just look back and forth every so often. Inclusion, IEPs, Common Core, and standardized tests. E-bot is a flexible solution that lets students be integrated into the classroom and fulfills multiple IEP needs. I'm seeing in Texas, they're writing it into IEPs all the time so the student has the unit so they can use it in class. You know, it fills testing requirements because they can sit and do their own tests. The students can be in the classroom with their peers doing their tests. They don't have to be taken down the hall, put in in the library, put in the counselor's office to take a test. They can stay with their peers. They know what's going on. If someone finds an error in the test, it can be called to their attention at the same time. They can fill out a Scantron. It's great when they can do more and more independently. They have the freedom, the ability, and they can see what else they can do in life. They can use magnification, OCR, or both, depending on their reading context or the best learning method. This is because you can use the OCR because you can put the headphone on and you can listen to it. And see, it's a long passage that has to be read, and then it's questions answered. It allows them to do that, where maybe if they were reading it on their own visually, it would be a slower process, which means the testing time had to be extended, which isn't a problem unless the student feels out of place with it. My son qualified because of his learning disability for taking tests in other rooms. He would not do it. He would refuse. Many students don't want to leave their peers when they're taking the test because they know everyone's looking at them. Why do they get to leave? Why are they being made leave? They just want to be part of the group. They want to fit in. The E-bot makes it so they can take the test in multiple formats. They can do essays. They can do multiple choice. They can do the Scantron. They can do fill in the blank. I mean, Students, when they can actually see to fill in the blanks themselves as they go, are so excited. Who wants to have to tell someone else how to fill it in? Also, this makes it so the school doesn't think, well, were they coached? Did they get hints? And that's one of the things that's often said. You know, so they give the answer, does the person filling it in hesitate a minute, and the student goes, is that right or wrong? This eliminates that, the students doing everything themselves, independent. The next one is our E-bot full specifications. You can call about any of them at any time. The dealers or HIMSS Inc. will answer any questions you have. That's what we're here for. That's what we love to do. There's a 2-year limited warranty on parts and labor. I can tell you, if you're thinking, well, the motorized one breaks, we have not had any of the motorized cameras come back for repairs. I guess, Michelle, we're ready for questions and answers or comments.
Okay. So if anyone wants to ask a question out loud, you can unmute your microphone and ask a question aloud, or if you type a question into the chat window, I will read it aloud for you, and then Rick or myself will take a stab at answering it.
What's the 3 price points that we're talking about for these individual models?
Okay. The E-bot, which I would call the standard, the first one, is $2,695. The E-bot Advanced is $2,995, and the E-bot Pro is $3,895, and it is on. There is an educational special listed through the end of October, with $400 off, which would make it $3,495.
Hey, Rick, I have a question in the chat window, 2 of them. The first question. How do you convert an image on the smartboard to the iPad that you can write on or edit?
I do not believe that you can write on it or edit. You have to go to a different screen.
I think in that scenario too, you would be using the iPad to view the whiteboard, and you can save an image from the whiteboard, but you would want to probably then take your notes in a notebook or possibly on another device, because the iPad screen is not very big. If you were on a computer, you could do the E-bot screen in a smaller window and then have Word up to take notes on the computer screen. But I wouldn't attempt, well, you can't have 2 screens on an iPad, but even with an Android where you can have 2 screens up, I wouldn't recommend it just based on the size of the screen. But like I said, if they're on a laptop, you could very easily have Word on half the screen and have the E-bot picture on half the screen, and then they could be looking at the whiteboard and also taking notes, but you can't take notes on the whiteboard image. And then a next question, are there tutorials?
There are not tutorials right now. We will be creating some, because I have been asked in Texas to go and do some E-bot training for teachers specifically. So I think as we do those, we will be doing some recordings and then posting them online. So I would say they will be on shortly.
It's something we're working on, and we do have, you know, the Texas-based support. So we're available during business hours, during the week when you need help. We're super friendly, and chances are you'll either pick up when you call or call you back pretty soon. So while we don't have tutorials right now, we have very friendly support, and they're happy to take your calls.
And you can email and schedule a time, and then we will try and call you during that time. We do that with all of our devices, because sometimes the teacher has a really limited time when they're with that student. So we'll try to do that for you. We're really here to help you and your students.
And the next question, Rick, how do you fill out forms?
So what happens is the camera is focused in the reading position down below. And you have the form on the plate, because it's not an XY table. And then you start where you're going to fill in, as you've read, and then there's a blank to fill in, and you fill that in with handwriting. and then you move along to the next. So it's pretty much like visually, except you're moving the form with your hand a little bit as you go is probably the easiest way. Because on the XY table, you were moving the table, and the plate, the base plate makes it so you can move the paper very easily. Does that answer your question? I want to make sure that one came across clearly.
Well, I know another question we get too, people sometimes think because e-bot creates a little Wi-Fi network for connecting the iPad, I think people sometimes think that that takes the iPad online, which it does not. You do not have internet access. It will not magnify the screen of the iPad onto something else, which a lot of competitors do. They'll magnify the iPad onto a larger monitor. We're kind of doing the reverse. We're magnifying a piece of paper, or we're magnifying something on the whiteboard, and we're using the iPad as the monitor. So it is the output as opposed to the input, and that's kind of what makes e-bot unique. We are, I believe, the only ones using the iPad wirelessly for outputs. The iPad becomes the monitor. And then Darlene wants to know if you can demonstrate on filling out the forms. And we're not set up right now to do video like that. If you will email me at webinars@HIMS, HIMS-inc.com, we can schedule to have someone demonstrate via video, just one-on-one with you. We can use the WebEx platform to do that. We're not equipped right now to do that on the spot. But if you'll email webinars@HIMS, HIMS-inc.com, we will coordinate that with you.
Hey, Michelle, this is Ike, if you don't mind me interrupting. I think the easiest way to answer that for the questioner is that you would fill out a form in the same way you would on any other type of video magnification system. You know, in that you, like Rick said, you basically have the form under the camera, and then you look at it on the display, in this case the iPad, and the person would put their pen or pencil down there and, you know, write in the form and then move the paper over to, you know, read the rest of the question or the next question and move to the blank, that type of thing. So I don't think there's any special thing for writing associated with this product. It's just what we normally do with video magnifiers.
That's a really good explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's very the e-bot, even though it's very small in size and it has the wireless capability and it has the battery, it is very similar to one of the large desktop magnifiers as far as what it can do. It's just that we add a lot of things on top, like the OCR and the ability to save, the ability to fold it down, obviously, and take it with you. And then the ability to choose your monitor. You can choose an iPad, you can choose a laptop. You can choose a really, really big monitor. If you want to hook it up to your TV, you can have a giant monitor. You just need to have that HDMI cable. All right, so I'm going to flip to the next screen here. Obviously, you guys know how to sign up for a webinar because you signed up already, but if you want to keep track of what topics are coming up, you can go on our website to HIMS, HIMS-inc.com/webinars. And you'll see there we've listed all of the webinars, I think through December. There's a couple of different topics coming up, so go take a peek over there. The December webinar, I'm really excited about. It's a little different for us. We are going to be having an online virtual holiday party of sorts. So if you register for that, that's going to be one that you want to attend in person. We're going to have the whole HIMS team on the line. We'll have some trivia, a couple of, I guess, games that we can play online through the chat window and through the voice controls. But we will have some prizes that you can win. I think everyone that signs up will receive some sort of small gift, a card or something in the mail. But if you join us live, like I said, we're going to have several prizes and things that we're giving away. So it's definitely one that you'll want to attend live. And we have a few more questions that just came through, Rick.
Okay.
What type of SD cards does it support?
It will, are you asking the size? It will take up to a 32 gigabyte SD card?
No, I'm asking about, does it take the mini SD, or, you know, there's two or three kinds of little SD.
I'm sorry, it's the standard SD card, the oldest one. It's not the mini or, yeah, it's just a regular SD card.
What about a USB flash drive?
No, it does not at this time. That is something we've requested to our engineers, but that has not happened yet.
I
One thing you could do, if you needed to save an image, if you're on an iPad or computer, if you've got something on your screen and you just want to capture it real quick and you don't have an SD card, you could just take a screenshot, just like anything else. You can take an iPad screenshot or a desktop screenshot. As long as you're not on just a regular plain old monitor, you could do that.
I strongly suggest you push the engineers to make it USB compatible, because that's such an easier format for people to manipulate than an SD card. And we already have students out there, you know, storing and saving and transporting documents by, you know, USB flash thumb drive things. So
yes,
that would be real helpful.
We have really stressed that, because in the States, that's been a really important issue. I'm not sure that in the rest of the world the SD card was used more, but we have stressed that in the United States and Canada that USB drives are much more preferred. But thank you, and that's good. I get to pass it on again. That always makes me happy.
So if there's any other questions out there, you can unmute your mic and ask aloud, or type it in the chat window and I'll read it. We'll hang out for another few minutes and see if anything else comes through. Kareem wants to know, is there any way that E-bot can use another browser besides Firefox? So Kareem, the E-bot actually doesn't use a browser. There's a special app or a special program that you would install on the PC or the Mac. We have a special program for each of those. And there's an app in the App Store that you would download, and it's free. Once you have the E-bot, the app is free from the store, and you would just install that. So it uses its own program to do the viewing.
It's called the E-bot Viewer. I'm sorry, I did not review that with y'all.
So again, the E-bot doesn't actually connect to the internet. It creates a little Wi-Fi network that your iPad will connect to. And just the same way that when you're connecting to the internet, you go looking for your home Wi-Fi or your school Wi-Fi, once the E-bot is turned on, in that list of available networks, you will see the E-bot network. And the other nice thing about that, too, is it's not really providing internet. It's just providing that visual connection from the E-bot magnifier to the iPad screen, so that if a student is using the E-bot for testing, you don't have to worry about him looking on the internet and jumping over on the iPad and looking things up. If he's using the E-bot, that's the network he's connected to, and he cannot connect to the internet without disconnecting the E-bot. Which a teacher will notice pretty quickly, because the iPad will not be showing the E-bot anymore. But just by nature of Wi-Fi, you can only connect to one at a time, and it will not give you internet access. It just gives you E-bot access.
It's really simple to connect.
Kareem just joined us, so he doesn't know what he missed. But Kareem, we are going to have a recording for this. And we'll also post the PowerPoint slides so you can read through them on your own. When the recording is ready, you'll get an email from us with a link, and you can just click it and watch the recording and catch up. And I think we had another E-bot webinar a few months back. If you go to hims-inc.com/webinars, we have recordings of past webinars out there. And I want to say it was probably a good 6 or 8 months ago, we did a little different presentation on E-bot, but it was geared towards schools and students. So you could, in the meantime, go check that one out on our website.
It was in February of 2015.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
Rick, I want to thank you so much for presenting for us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us live, and everyone who is going to be watching this later. I hope you guys all have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.